Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you, Alex. And thank you all for joining us today. I'm pleased to see so many of you are with us. What I'd like to review with you today is we'll do really brief about Klein for anyone on the line who's not familiar with our company. Then I'm going to give you a brief overview of the research and the methodology that we use to gather the information. And then we'll jump right into the key trends, the market segmentation, the impact of COVID, and our outlook for the market. So Klein is a management consulting and market research firm. We serve multiple industries. Our heritage is in chemicals. We were started by Dr. Charlie Klein, who was a chemist, and all the industries that we serve today are downstream from the chemicals industry, including I&I cleaning. We have offices in all parts of the world. We do global research as well as regional. We're headquartered here in Parsippany, New Jersey, but we have several offices in Europe, Asia, Middle East, as well as Sao Paulo, Brazil. We have over 45 years of experience consulting to the professional cleaning industry. And really, we've done a lot of syndicated studies on janitorial cleaning, on food service cleaning, laundry chemicals, industrial whites, and we really focus in on the B2B markets. We're a member of ISSA and INDA, and we'll be sharing some excerpts from our food service cleaning products report, which was published in August of this year. Okay, just a little bit about how we do the research and what the source of the information is, because what I have found is that, if we jump right into the findings, a lot of the questions from the audience is, where is this coming from? What is your source? So here's kind of a graphical depiction of a typical project and what we used when we did the food service research. First, we sat and met with our charter subscribers and we got their input on what topics and what issues are of interest to them. We designed the survey, we looked at the sample and how it should be, segmented. Then we went into the field and we did online structured surveys, very detailed, with over 750 end users. These are end use decision makers who are making the decision on which products to be used at their workplace for cleaning the kitchen and mainly the back of house area of the facility. So that provides us with a lot of bottom up, very granular information on the marketplace and what's happening. In tandem with that, our staff is also conducting about 50 in-depth interviews with chemical suppliers, with distributors, industry analysts, trade associations, for more of a top-down look at the market to understand the major trends, more of a macro view, what's happening with competition, what challenges are happening, what does the market outlook look like. So it's that combination of the top-down and the bottom-up granular information from which we form our estimates on the marketplace and our forecasts. So the research was conducted from March to May of this past year. And the bulk of the sample came from food service. So that's a cross-section of quick serve, fast food, fast casual, and full service restaurants. In healthcare, we did about 140 surveys. And so that was hospitals, nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities, assisted living, long-term care facilities primarily. In education, we did K through 12 schools, as well as colleges and universities. Then we had 81 lodging establishments that filled in the survey, 61 retail hosts. So that was focused in specifically in like C-stores, grocery stores, mass merchandisers, any retailers that have, a food service area at the front of the store, usually where there's like a cafe and there's, food being served. Industry is anything from manufacturing plants to government facilities to office buildings, recreational facilities, and 20 other. So there were 746 of those structured surveys, and then we did 48 of those in-depth, top-down interviews. So the total sample size here is almost 800, and that's what all the information is based on that I'm going to share with you today. So in general, the trends that we're seeing by end use segment were that the full service restaurants were really the most heavily impacted with closures and limited capacity. And they had a harder time pivoting to takeout. Fast food restaurants and fast casual restaurants were less impacted because they, oftentimes have that drive-up window and a higher propensity towards takeout service. So it wasn't as much of a shift for them in closing their dining rooms. In the healthcare sector, certainly the hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living facilities were still serving food to the patients, but all of the visitors were prohibited for quite a while or scaled back considerably, and there wasn't really any dining for visitors and guests. So that cut back on food service cleaning needs at those types of facilities. Obviously, throughout most of 2020, many schools were closed for virtual instruction. Certainly, even if they were open on a hybrid basis, there was just grab and go kind of lunches that were going home with the students. Colleges and universities were, just operating on a virtual schedule for the most part. So there was pretty severe impacts in terms of the demand for food service cleaning among those facilities. And then also lodging establishments and recreational facilities were certainly strongly negatively impacted with low amounts of leisure and business travel. So certainly a lot of limited, food service offerings at those facilities as well. Now, in the past, when we've looked at this market, we tend to look at food service cleaning every 3 years. So the last time we published a report on this segment was 2018. And, for the most part, it's slow and steady growth. It's like 2 to 3% gains year over year in most end use segments. But 2020 was anything but slow and steady. So the hardest hit segments included the full service restaurants, the education, recreation, office buildings, and hotels, as we talked about. They were, a lot of them were limited capacity or closed entirely. The moderately impacted segments tended to be those that might have been closed for a small period of time, but then reopened to pretty close to normal capacity. Things like industrial facilities, nursing homes, assisted living, hospitals, and government facilities. And then the ones that really didn't have all that much impact or even reported having a positive impact on their business last year were those that were, again, suited towards takeout service, like fast food and fast casual restaurants, and retail hosts like C-stores and, Targets, where you were still allowed, able to go in and buy, a takeaway sandwich or a cup of coffee. They really didn't close much during the pandemic. So they were little to no impact on those segments. Overall, though, there were very significant declines in the overall marketplace. So it was down almost 24% in 2020 from 2019, the overall market. Certainly, there were a lot of surges in sales for hand care and surface disinfectants, but the automated warewashes, which is the largest segment of the market, really took a big hit for a couple of reasons. The closures, but also the strong usage of disposable wares, since even full service restaurants were largely operating with takeout service and takeaway. So there were just less dishes to be processed and washed. And so the automated warewashes, which is the largest segment of the market and also probably the highest price points, had a big drop off. And so therefore the overall market was down about 24% last year to $2.3 billion. Hand care products, again, surged. A lot of surface cleaning products like disinfectants, sanitizers, and general purpose cleaners saw gains, but there's also other products in there that were down a bit, like oven and griddle cleaners and floor cleaners were down somewhat with a lot of dining rooms closed last year. In terms of the competitive landscape, Ecolab is still, the far and away leading supplier. They have a very wide product lineup and a lot of full service service capabilities with their automated warewash programs and their dispensers, and they're a direct seller. So obviously they're still far and away leader. Diversey and Autoclor are also very large, wide portfolio of products being offered, and that direct sales approach. We did see some gains for companies that are focused on hand care, like Gojo and Purell, even Colgate with soft soap, and Henkel with Dial, Reckitt with Lysol hand soaps and surface disinfectants. Saw some gains in those companies as well. Spartan is another large, supplier of a wide portfolio of products for the kitchen. Zepp is pretty strong with fast food restaurants and fast casual. So, it was a mixed performance year depending on the portfolio of the company's products. Obviously, those that focus on warewash chemicals had a tougher time with sales last year. Okay, so some of the major shifts that we heard about during our research were certainly increased cleaning with surface disinfectants. Facilities reporting a huge increase in the number of times per day that surfaces were being wiped with disinfectants, 3, 4, multiple times a day. Also tremendous gains for hand sanitizers, because they were placed at locations throughout these facilities where they had never been before. So where they might have been, outside the restrooms pre-COVID, they're now outside the restrooms and in front of the elevators and in front of, on school buses, in the cafeteria of facilities, or in front of the cafeteria near checkout kiosks at retail stores. So you're just, having them placed at multiple locations. So they increased multifold last year. One of the other things that we heard from multiple suppliers, both large and small, was that there was really very little time for innovation because the market was so chaotic, with just trying to keep up with the huge surge in demand. And then on the back end, dealing with supply chain issues of getting raw materials and packaging components, and also dealing with shortages in freight and shipping, sending products out after they were made. So many companies reported that, we normally would have liked to have done some more R&D, more development of new products, but it was so chaotic and busy for us, we didn't have the time to really invest in that. So a lot of companies are saying that they're hoping going forward with the rollout of the vaccines that there will be, more time for kind of business as usual development in terms of innovations. Other major shifts were obviously the restaurant closures had a big impact on manufacturers, with more increased takeaway, but also there was a huge acceleration in the types of delivery services like Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats. And so that shifted tremendously the way restaurants interact with their patrons. A lot more disposable wares, and therefore less demand for warewash chemicals and other products used in the machines. But also something that makes consumers comfortable during some of these surges of the virus, being able to just stay home and still, have that dining out experience. So we saw things like ghost kitchens and places that were just really, truly one facility for back of house, where all they did was churn out meals for Uber Eats and these delivery services to deliver. So, some interesting things taking place there that really were not a factor pre-COVID. And then the supply chain and manufacturing challenges is one that I think is going to, continue over the long term. As I mentioned, there were, initially issues with getting some of the raw materials, but there just continues to be global supply chain issues where there are, tens of huge cargo ships in vessels waiting out to sea. They don't even have a berth to, unload. I mean, we're continuing to see this unfold. for many months now in terms of shortages of getting products from overseas, even shortages of the shipping containers themselves, shortages of cardboard packaging with all of the web-based buying and online ordering. So it just, seems to be impacting every facet of the manufacturing and shipping process. And I think that's going to be a long-term challenge for the industry to deal with. Okay, so some of our results from the survey, we asked the question, how has COVID-19 impacted your business overall? And so 45% overall said negative. I was surprised that 34% said neutral and 21% said it was actually a positive impact on their business. And you can see here, industry, a lot of the manufacturing facilities were closed very briefly in March and April, and then they reopened. So they were 48% of them said it was a neutral impact to their business. And again, the retail hosts, so those are, things like C-stores and mass merchandisers and grocery stores, 44% of them said it had a neutral impact on their business. So that was just kind of the overall take on their business. Then we asked them specific questions about what they did, what changes did they make to their operations as a result of COVID, and distancing of tables and chairs in the dining room and adding signage about hand washing, social distancing protocols, wearing masks, the way the facility was cleaned. Those were the two most common operational changes. But you can see using more food delivery services was also high on the list. And sadly, having to reduce staff or furlough employees was also a reality for many of the food service operations that we surveyed. No longer offering dine-in service, only takeout, raising their prices to cover increased costs, adding signage to show the areas have been cleaned, and then using QR codes rather than menus to reduce the number of surfaces that were touched by patrons. We also asked in our survey about the most common cleaning changes that were made as a result of COVID. So we're going to run a poll right now. I'm curious to get your take on what you think these end users, what was the most prevalent change that they made due to COVID when it came to cleaning their facilities. So we'll give you a couple of minutes now just to answer the poll. You should see this on your screen. And I think you might be surprised by some of the results that we saw. Okay, we're getting there. We have about half of you that have answered the question. We like running these polling questions. It makes the webinar a little more interactive. Okay, I think that's everybody. Let me share the results with you of the poll. Okay, you should be able to see it now. So 38% of you said sanitizing and disinfecting surfaces more frequently. 29% think it was increased number of locations where hand sanitizer is available. 21% increased frequency of cleaning, and 12% stockpiling cleaning products and shortages. Okay, so now let's go to the next slide and we'll look at the actual results of the survey. Okay, so anybody that said increased locations with hand sanitizer and sanitizing surfaces more frequently, you were correct. That was the most common cleaning changes made by the end users. Also increased cleaning of frequency of cleaning was a close third. And the changing the dispensers from manual to touch-free was pretty prevalent as well. Also increased use of antibacterial hand soaps was high. And that was something, that we had seen a decrease in usage. That was kind of a trend pre-pandemic, that we were seeing more and more end users in our last survey saying, yeah, we're not using as much anti-bac hand soap because of, concerns about resistance, bacterial resistance. So even though the pandemic is caused by a virus, not a bacteria, a lot of end users have increased their antibacterial hand soap. They've increased checking the levels and refilling the hand care dispensers more frequently. Using higher temperature wash machines was kind of middle of the pack there. The stockpiling of products was a bit lower, than I would have expected. I think people did stockpile as much as they could. There just, wasn't really deep supplies of the products. Several of them mentioned switching to environmentally friendly products away from stronger chemical-based products, which I found was interesting and a little bit in contradiction to, sanitizing and disinfecting more frequently and using more antibacterial hand soap. But a lot of end users told us it's because their employees are cleaning so frequently that they didn't want them, the safety of their employees was important, and they didn't want them inhaling fumes of stronger chemical products because they were cleaning so frequently throughout the course of the day. Some said they changed brands of cleaning products. Some said they're using more disposable wipes. And also several said they've removed air dryer hand drying systems in their restrooms and replaced with paper because of the dangers of, the blowing of the air hand dryers. Okay, so then we asked in the survey, when do you expect to return to standard spending on food service cleaning products? And the bulk of the respondents said in 2022, they would expect spending to go back. But the brown bar at the bottom I thought was interesting. So I think it was wound up being 6 or 7% of the sample said they don't think they will go back at all to pre-COVID spending. It's the foreseeable future, and it just is what it is. This is how much we're going to spend, and this is how frequently we're going to clean. So then of those people, we asked them, why do you think you're not going to go back to pre-COVID spending on these products? So 55% of them said it's just better this way, and this is the new standard of clean. And so I thought that was an interesting takeaway. 18% said this is the new standard. 9% said it will stay the same because we care about everyone's safety. Everyone in that case, meaning building users and employees. And 9% said, we don't think it's going to change because we foresee the pandemic isn't going anywhere. And 14% gave other open-ended answers to that. So I think that's interesting, even if it is only 6 or 7%, it still is, I think, something that is going to resonate with people, that, this increased level of cleaning and hand hygiene is here to stay for quite a while. Okay, one of the other major shifts that we've seen is an increase in web-based buying. And so it's not only consumers, but certainly it's professionals buying for their business. But then when we delved into it, we asked them, are you shifting from distributor websites to Amazon for your buying? So most of them said no. 86% said no, we are still mainly buying from distributor websites when we buy online. And the ones that are most common are Cisco, US Foods, Foodservice of America, Gordon, etc. But definitely an increase in web-based buying, making it more convenient for end users to find the products that they need and get delivery. Especially earlier in the year, it seemed that they were resistant to going into retail stores if they could avoid it, and ordering their cleaning products online. So what we see coming is that this is really kind of the new normal, that we expect to see a certain percentage of these facilities with an increased level of cleaning and increased usage of products. there will be, continue to be large scale surface disinfection and sanitizing as the Delta variant continues to be very transmissible. We do think that certainly businesses have stockpiled products, and that will cause some flatness in categories like hand sanitizer and hand soaps. But as Delta continues to surge and these facilities are now open, dining rooms are open, so patron restrooms are open, I think it will be a relatively short-lived flatness, and that may have actually passed over the summer months where those stockpiles are being used down. Well, and in the survey, we asked, if you're stockpiling products, what's the average, estimated length of time for us? How much stockpiles do you have? And I'm pretty sure the most common response was 2 months or 3 months. So, they don't have 6 months worth or a year's worth of these products. So they will get used down, so it might be some quarterly flatness, but it's not going to impact the whole year. And then in terms of innovations and new products that the end users are asking for and are interested in, things like extended time sanitizers and disinfectants, things that can help reduce the frequency that their staff needs to wipe surfaces, and has some, scientific claims in terms of being able to kill bacteria and viruses on surfaces after multiple touch points and over a certain period of time. I think we will see those. So those are some of the, major trends that we see coming. There will be healthy growth, but it will certainly take some time for the market to regain all of the losses that were felt last year. And certainly this, supply chain issues will continue to be a challenge for the marketplace. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay, wonderful. So, actually, Laura, we did just get a question on the topic that you were just talking about. And they say, for those who had said that they had 2 months worth of stockpile of products, was that distributors or end users?
Okay, so that was end users. So of that sample of 750, we said, do you have stockpiles of, cleaning products? And they said, if they said yes, then we asked them, please estimate, the length of time that you have stockpiles for and what types of products. And for the most part, it was hand soaps, hand sanitizers, and it was mostly like 2 to 3 months worth they were estimating, but it wasn't the entire, it wasn't every end user, obviously.
Okay, great. And we have another one. What shifts in distribution channels have you seen in 2020?
So that was interesting. So as we discussed, there was definitely more online buying. And there was an increase in purchases on Amazon, but as we talked about, it was also a lot of the distributors' websites where end users were purchasing the products. But we also saw from some of the larger facilities, some of the chain facilities, an increase in direct purchases from companies like Ecolab, Diversity, Spartan, Autoclor that could guarantee supply of cleaning products. And so that was interesting because over time, we've seen that a lot of those direct sellers have lost some of the share of distribution to the industry in favor of distributors and retailers and online sales. But the turmoil and the chaos of last year led many larger facilities to seek that kind of guaranteed supply of products, so that there was definitely that fear of running out. And some of the larger facilities that might have a little more bandwidth in their budget to spend or to sign longer term contracts were finding that was a way around some of the supply chain challenges.
Okay, excellent. We just got another one. What is the expected market rebound in 2021?
So it's going to take several years for the market just to get back to the level it was at in 2019, because it was such a steep decline. You also had in early 21, a lot of the end users using down some of those stockpiles in hand care and surface disinfecting. But over the, late spring and summer months, you did see more facilities open up. We now have educational facilities largely reopened around the country, with cafeterias serving food. So, I do think that it will be kind of a steep incline in 21 and 22, and then it will, sort of level off to more normal, slow and steady gains. But it probably will be several years before the market is able to regain its prior levels.
Okay. All right. And we did have another question, but that may have explained it. When do you expect stockpiling to be behind and see recovery for the surface cleaning / sanitizing products?
Yeah, I think this fall and winter, going into the winter, as there's more indoor activity, there's just more, not even just COVID, but there's going to be flu and colds and everything else that we contend with during the fall and winter months. And the reopening of so many facilities, you'll start to see increased buying, now there's the third and fourth quarter of this year and heading into next winter.
Okay. And we have one last question, and then maybe we'll move on just in the sake of time. But what are the food service operators and end users saying regarding, quote, improving consumer confidence? What help and support are they looking for there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's actually one of the things we have in our survey, a very long list of purchase factors that we ask end users, what's important to you? And, typically things like, sales support, or like what we saw kind of rise pretty high in the rankings this time around was signage and support from chemical suppliers that shows, this facility was cleaned with, whatever brand of disinfectant. End users are definitely looking for that signage, for employee checklists for their employees to make sure that each time a certain area of the facility is clean, that they're following that standard procedure to make sure that it's clean and germs are killed. And also, just advice, cleaning advice, the end users are saying is important to them. And those were not typically, factors that were even mentioned in the past, like 3 years ago.
Okay. And actually, I know I said that we were just going to have one more, but another one did come through, and I think it's interesting. So I'm going to share it. What are the trends in regards to natural / green cleaning products?
Yes. Okay. So that was something I was a little bit surprised from the survey results, because, we were hearing about how important it was, how they're disinfecting surfaces, how, there's hand sanitizer everywhere. So it was all about, and the increase in antibacterial hand soaps. So all of that would tell you that the mindset is, okay, give us like the strongest chemical, formulas you can to kill as many germs as possible. But you had also, in tandem with that, you had these, employees cleaning 4, 5, 6 times a day, these surfaces. And so you don't want your facility to smell like bleach necessarily, and you don't want your employees to be inhaling those fumes every other hour. So we did see a pretty strong, interest level in greener, safer for the environment products. I think not only the frequency of cleaning, but also, a lot of the environmental and sustainability goals that are coming in 2025, 2030. There's a lot of talk about that. Certainly it's impacting education and lodging establishments, also retailers too, with bans on single-use plastic bags. So yeah, that is definitely a key purchase factor that's, a nice to have. I think it's going from nice to have to we need to have, some more environmentally friendly cleaning options at our facility.
Okay, great. That's it. That's all the questions that I have coming through on the chat box. So then with that, thank you, Laura, for walking us through that. I just wanted to also touch upon what we've got coming through the pike for the rest of this year and looking at next year as far as our I&I reports are concerned. So for those of you who are interested in food service cleaning products, perhaps you may be interested in some of our other topics. So just recently, we have produced our sustainable cleaning trends. So for those of you who are asking about the green cleaning products, this may be something that is of interest to you. We do have a mini report on sustainable cleaning trends that was just released. That is also part of our Klein Pulse I&I program, which is a monthly subscription service where we offer many topics on, a variety of different areas of interest for the I&I, industry. Sustainable cleaning is one, but we've got them on a variety of different topics. Again, those are published monthly throughout the rest of the year and into 2022. If you are interested in seeing what those are and what the publication schedule is for those, please let me know. I would be happy to share that. In terms of our upcoming reports, we are doing an industrial and institutional cleaning products Germany market analysis and opportunities. Most of you are probably here in the United States. That's usually our key area of focus, but we do have something coming out on Germany in case that's of interest for European colleagues. Again, I mentioned our Klein Pulse that is going through next year. And then we are just in the process. We have just launched our I&I cleaning wipes report. We're very excited about this. This is going to begin the research next month, and then we will be publishing that in Q1, perhaps Q2 of 2022. And many of you are familiar. You may have subscribed to Klein's reports in the past. Perhaps you are a subscriber to one of our sister reports, or perhaps it's been a while. But I also wanted to just mention that we have a new, easier to use online report delivery system. For those of you who are familiar with our old My Klein, we have updated that. And there's some new functionality to that, improved searchability. We have deeper filtering options by industry and type, content, publication, etc. Easy to access reports. And then we have a personalized feed where you can follow, bookmark, share, all of those things. This is how all of our reports are housed on this online web portal, easy to be downloaded and to be shared within your organization. So if you are interested in subscribing to this or any of our other reports, this is how you would access that. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that for everyone who has attended this webinar today, we are offering 10% off of this subscription. So if you found this valuable and interesting and you would like to learn more, please reach out to me directly. My contact information is here as well as Laura's. I would be happy to share brochures, tables of contents, any other materials. I can also share pricing. And again, we would love to give you this discount for those of you who were gracious enough to attend and spend 40 minutes of their morning listening to us speak.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time and attention, and hopefully we'll all get to meet up in person soon.
Yes, we hope so. And also, just don't forget, if there were any questions that you have in follow-up to this that were not answered in our Q&A session, you can either reach out to the email that is listed in the invitation. You can also reach out directly to myself or to Laura. No matter which way you reach out to us, we will be sure to get in contact with you and answer any questions that you might have.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.